All right, I got a question for you guys. Bobby, I'll shoot this one at you first. Do you? I'm trying to think. I guess I'm surprised. Maybe we never talked about this, but do you sit through movie credits?
No, and I know I should because I've gone to school for film and know all the hard work that gets put into it. But man, I gotta get the hell out of there. You know, some of those movies are so long, and you gotta like hold all that stuff in. And then as soon as the credits hit, I gotta go to the bathroom. It's like I just been sitting there too long. And I honestly think that a lot of times with the credits, it's so funny because they will put like some of those credits in the beginning. So I'm like, oh, well, I know the main principal people. And so if I see it on a DVD or video or something, maybe I'll watch it a little bit longer at my leisure. But generally speaking, no. And I guess Marvel's good about making it so that you kind of have to sit through them. But generally speaking, no, I don't.
How about you, Jascha?
I actually sit through the entire credits, read them all, and then I go and volunteer at homeless shelters and build homes for people in third world countries immediately following it. Because, yes, the hard work that is put into these films, I want to make sure that I'm a part of all of it. No, I don't sit through the credits. The only reason I sit through Marvel's credits is because I know that there's something coming, either whether it's 10 seconds to 15 seconds or even a 30 seconds roll. That's the only reason I sit through the credits, to see when I'm watching a Marvel movie. However, if I just don't. Like, if I think that there's something coming, then I'll stick around for a little bit. But if not, I'm like Bobby. Those credits start to roll. As soon as I saw directed by, I was like, up, out the door, on my way, gotta go.
That's funny. I guess I'm the only one. Yeah, I sit through the credits almost every movie.
Well, congratulations, Saint David. That's just exactly how I'm going to refer to you from now on, Saint David.
I do get a kick out of it, though. I guess like what you're saying, Jascha. Like, there's some movies, man, and even Marvel movies, which is the most mind blowing, when like the second like some type of credit pops up, even if it's like over a picture, like say, you got a movie where you still got some the end of the scene kind of playing out during the beginning of the credits. Man, the second something like any type of directed by or the first credit, man, people are just jumping up and getting the fuck out of there. And I'm like, whoa, like it's like this automatic reaction. Like, do you really have to leave so quickly?
No, that's a good point, because but it's like all at the same time, it's like, when did credits change? Because if you remember, like back in like the 50s and 60s, when movies were being made, and it's like they showed like an enormous amount of screen credits at the very beginning of the movie theater, and then at the very end, it was maybe like, oh, this has been an MGM production, and here are the actors. But they always showed the actors like at the very, very beginning, like, I mean, full on credits. Like you could, if you put it at the back, it would just be the rolling of the credits. I want to know when exactly that changed, that they're like, well, let's just put it at the end of the movie and get to the movie, or show the 15 different type of companies that helped produce this one film. And, the one distributor, which is Warner Brothers, but hey, all these other independent production teams, they helped put this movie together, and then, they rolled the credits, and then they do the everybody else, like basically the help.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it is? What I think is that whenever you're watching a movie and you get to the credits, I think it's similar to when you're sitting at home and you're watching the Oscars or any other type of award show, when they bring up the people who like produce the film or the categories where they get the accountants up there. It's like, you know what? I don't see you on the screen, so I really don't care much about what you contributed. I mean, thank you for helping out and making this film that I enjoyed. But really, I just want to see the person I saw acting on screen get their award, and let me fast forward through your part. And so it's sort of the same when you're at the theater. It's like, you know what? I just really only know the people who were in it. And at this point in time, I've already gave you my time and money. So now I've got to go and do my other business.
I think it impressed me I don't know, not impressed me, but like, growing up here in Orlando, no one stays for credits. I mean, you get a random person here and there that does it, but for the most part, no one does. And then I moved to LA, and it's not like everybody in the LA Hollywood area stays for credits, but a lot more people do, Yeah. And it's probably because half the people are like, oh, well, I know this guy and I know that guy,
sure.
or they're looking for their own names. So I just remember being like, oh wow, people like actually stick around here for credits. It's kind of surprising and interesting. And I remember when I lived in New York, actually they tried to kick me out during the credits once. And I got really pissed about it. Because I'll pretty much stay for any credits unless it's a movie that's really bad. If it's a movie I just hated, then I'll go. Or, if some other reason, like I got to be somewhere. It's not like I have to stay.
Well, I'm curious, but when you're watching the credits, like, are you literally watching it and like, oh, best script boy, okay, that's such and such, and because one, there's so many things to look at when those credits go, and two, sometimes they go so fast. Like, what are you really even seeing?
Well, a lot of times, I'll pay attention to a lot of the sound credits because I may know some names, having worked in audio post a little bit. Usually I don't, but I still look. Mm-hmm. I'm still curious who, some re-recording mixers were and, maybe Foley artists. I'm like, because I worked with a few Foley artists. I'm like, oh, maybe one of these guys made it to the even bigger time, and maybe I'll see their name on Guardians of the Galaxy or something. But, so I kind of look for stuff like that. And I also I don't know, to me, I feel like the credits are still just kind of part of the movie, especially with the score, because usually I enjoy film score so much too. Mm-hmm. So you've got music still playing that I'm enjoying. I just kind of feel like the movie isn't complete till it's done. Okay. But I think it was in New York. And I mean, of course, I say I walk out usually for bad movies. And this wasn't a great movie, but I still stayed. It was Pearl Harbor. And I remember it was me and my girlfriend at the time. And we're the only ones sitting in there. And the cleaning guys like come in. And the guy's like, hey, we have to clean the theater. I'm like, I don't give a shit. You can clean wherever you want. I'm not moving. The movie's not over. He's like, but the movie's over. You have to go. I'm like, no, it's not over. And I can't remember if I went. I might have even tried to say something to management afterwards. I can't remember if I did. I was so pissed. I'm like, what the fuck? You trying to kick me out? The movie's not. I was finished. I pay for this.
Yeah, you're not.
After watching 3 hours of Michael Bay.
Okay, first off, they probably thought you were insane because you were sitting there and you wanted to sit there. Second, they probably thought you were, should have been committed. The fact that you actually wanted to argue to the effect is like the movie isn't over. It's like, sir, the credits are rolling. The movie is over. How dare you?
Come on.
How dare you? It's like that's different.
I don't know. All right. Well, anyway, let's get on with the show. Well, welcome everybody to Flicker Effects number 110. We're recording this episode on Sunday, November 9th, 2014. I'm David Lott. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson.
Hello.
And Jascha Wilson is back.
Heyo.
How's it going, buddy? It's been a couple weeks.
I know. I missed you guys.
Yeah, we missed you too.
It's been a while.
Well,
we had some lively Marvel discussions, and you not being there just sort of felt like there was a little hole in the discussion.
That's right.
Dude, I know. And there has been so much going on that I was just like, oh my God, I know they're going to be talking about this, and I want to. And it's just been a busy couple of weeks for me, but here I am, ready to talk about all the stuff that's happened this week.
All right. Well, this week, we finally watched Interstellar. Some of us got to see it in 70 millimeter. Whatever.
I guess that was Bobby, because Bobby is definitely all about that.
Yes.
I'd be all about that too if I had that option.
Well, see, you would have that option, but you just live in an area where there's less of that option.
Yeah.
So
a lot like non-existent.
Yeah.
Used to exist here, no longer does. I was watching like Interstellar featurettes on YouTube after I saw the movie. And one of them was like an IMAX one, and they were talking about how they're, pushing theaters not to give up their film projectors yet because, hey, you're going to need it for Interstellar. And I'm like, well, unfortunately, the theater around here didn't listen to that. They dumped it. Because they used to have one, and it was great, but now it's gone. Anyway. So, Bobby, I'll ask you first then. You saw Interstellar in 70 millimeter. Uh-huh. What'd you think?
About the 70 millimeter?
About everything.
No.
How was the movie?
Okay. First off, just seeing it in the 70 millimeter, absolutely. If you can get to a theater to see it that way, that's definitely the best way to experience the film. You see it in such a nice scope. and it encompasses you. And whenever you're watching it, you just feel like it's a grand scale thing. And the way he intended it to be that way is the way you should go see it. That being said, the movie itself, when I went into it, when we did our movie listings of the year, what we were looking forward to this year, I think I had it somewhere like at number 7 on my list, somewhere around there. I think all the comic book movies were first, something like that. So for me, it was like, I know you have this deep attachment to Christopher Nolan, and I enjoy his movies as well, but I think you appreciate them on another level. And while I can understand it, for me, there's still just, certain entertaining type of movies that I don't go and search out in terms of like, oh, it's a Christopher Nolan, I have to be there sort of thing. Although I do tend to be there. But that being said, I was going into this movie thinking, okay, it should be pretty decent. It's Christopher Nolan attached, and I like his other stuff. When I came out of the film, I just remember thinking that it was not what I was expecting, but in such a good way. And it was, for me, almost as close to a perfect film as you can make.
Wow.
And
Whoa.
I loved it so much. And I know I had to give it a few more repeat viewings and everything, but I feel like it could go somewhere in my top 10 movies of all time list at some point. So I did not expect to go into it and come out of it feeling that way, but sure enough, I did.
Did you? I don't know if I want to ask this yet, but Jascha, first I'll go to you. What did you think of Interstellar?
I mean, wow. I mean, I'm still kind of floored as to like what Bobby just said. I'm taken back by how much praise he is offering this movie. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Don't get me wrong. Like I was in there and like wide-eyed, like I was a 10-year-old watching Iron Man for the first time. I'm telling you, or, just completely awestruck with some of the scenes and the graphics and the story. It was emotional. It was, uplifting. It was encouraging. It was discouraging. It was all those things. It was a hell of a story, hell of a way to tell stories. I did have a few things like I, may have griped about that we might be able to talk about later on. But for the most part, it was pretty damn close to perfect. I mean, especially Matthew McConaughey. Like, I mean, that dude just acted his ass off in this movie. Like, he was all over the board from, happy to just showing emotion to basically what looked like he just dropped tears on like the drop of a hat. Like, it was phenomenal. Like, it was good, but to put it in like top 10 and then just, that amazing, like I don't think it's that for me, but I could probably sit through it again, maybe even 2 more times before it hit video. Like, that's how much I liked it.
Nice. All right. So yeah, as Bobby's you've already mentioned, I'm a Nolan fan. Though I'm not like, I don't know. Like for one thing, I've never seen Memento. So
really?
It's not. Yeah, sadly, I've never seen it.
Dude,
I'm surprised by that.
Being a Nolan fan, I would think that it was like the first movie that you would see by him, because that was pretty brilliant all in itself.
Yeah. And I mentioned that to make sure I did. I'm a Nolan fan, and I have a lot of respect for him, but it's not like a Quentin Tarantino kind of love, where I've seen everything he's made, and I can say, even though definitely he's got films that are better than others, I love every one of Tarantino's films. I mean, looking at Nolan's work, I loved Inception. And that's a movie too that the more I've watched it, the more I love it. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. And that's the one movie I always have to think about, and I'm always careful with, because it's like I've got certain movies out there that I don't like, and I always hate that reaction you get from people about certain movies when they go, "Well, you just don't get it." And I have to be careful with Inception, because I find myself thinking that. Like, when I meet people that don't like it, I find myself thinking, "Oh, you just don't get it," because I think
which actually could be the case.
It could be.
Yeah, you might as well just cut to the chase and be like, you know what? It's not for everybody, and by that I mean you're not smart enough to understand.
So yeah, I mean, I love that film. Overall, I love his Dark Knight trilogy. Though I will, say, and I've said before, Dark Knight Rises has got problems, and I've got problems with it. Even though overall I like that movie too. That's evidence that he's not a perfect filmmaker. He makes mistakes, and to me that definitely had its share of mistakes. But yeah, I love Nolan films, and I've been really excited about this because not only is it a Nolan film, but it's a sci-fi space film, and I can't get enough of that either. So I've been pretty excited about it, and I've been as excited as I can get about the IMAX aspect of it because I can't get too excited since I can't really enjoy it here in Orlando. We don't have a 70 millimeter presentation here to choose from. But I saw it in IMAX anyway. It was a digital projection, and the digital projection was fine, but it's not the same. I could tell afterwards. I walked out, and I'm like, that was cool, but I need to see that in 70 millimeter. And I'm even somewhat tempted to drive down to Fort Lauderdale to do that one weekend. I might do it. I don't know. But anyway. But yeah, I also enjoyed the shit out of Interstellar. I liked it. It sounds like, Bobby, you might like it even more than I did, but I can tell that Interstellar is the kind of movie that the more I watch it, I'm sure the more I'm going to like it. Kind of like what happened with Inception. So,
yeah, I can actually get behind that. Like, I actually want to see it again because I think I would like it as much, if not more, the second time around.
Yeah.
Or I'll just go the opposite direction and just be like, this movie sucks, but I don't really think that's going to happen.
No. What were you going to say, Bobby?
I was just going to say, I haven't read a lot of reviews or opinions about it other than some of the other shows I listen to, and they're sort of slight opinions without them spoiling it. And that theme comes up a lot where they say, I have to watch it again, or I have to see it again. And it was weird because I seemed to feel like I got everything I needed to get out of it that first time to be able to say what I said about it, that I don't need to see it again to sort of reaffirmed how much I liked it, other than to say where I would place it, if I would place it in my top 10 of all time, just because of that. But I got it in that sense that, maybe for you guys, even though you did enjoy it, I think maybe the reason why I enjoyed it maybe more than you guys was because my expectation level was, and not low in the sense that I wasn't expecting nothing good out of it, but just I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it ended up being for me.
And I don't want anyone to misunderstand when I say, like, I feel like I need to see it again. Like, it's not like I don't think I'm not understanding anything, or there's nothing. I don't feel like there's anything I'm missing. I have a sense of it's one of those movies that I'll appreciate even more and more the more I see it. But I enjoyed it the first watch. I thought it was a great film. So, I mean, it's not like I need to, like, man, there's something I'm just missing and I got to see it again. It's not like that, in case it sounds like that. But, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's one of these movies that I feel like, in a way, it kind of walks a kind of a tightrope of it. And let me fully explain this. This is going to sound weird, but it's a great film, but in a lot of ways, I feel like it could also be a great, like, miniseries. Like, there's so much going on in this movie that I want even more of it, and I want some stuff even fleshed out even more than it is. And there's no way you could make this in a miniseries. It needs to be a film. It needs to be an IMAX film. But and I think it borders on having a little too much in it. And I he's had that problem in the past, like with Dark Knight Rises. That was a movie that I feel like he had too much going on in that script and that movie. And it was trying to squish it into this 3-hour film or however long that movie was. And it just didn't work for me. And that's not the case here. I feel like he handled the large amount of stuff he's trying to cover and the big ideas he's had, and he made it work. But it's close to being a bit much. But here I think he was successful at it, unlike how he was at Dark Knight Rises. Not that those movies are really anything like each other, but I don't, you know what I mean. I'm curious though. We've been hearing a lot of news, and Bobby, you and I talked about this a little bit earlier in this week about the sound problems that people are talking about with this movie, and for anyone who hasn't heard, there's a lot of people complaining about the mix. And this is an interesting thing that's coming up, seeing that this isn't the first time this has happened with a Nolan movie. I mean, to recap for anyone who maybe doesn't remember or had never heard, like back when Dark Knight Rises was about to come out, a lot of people were already complaining about Bane and his dialogue, mainly because back in front of, I think it was Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, if you saw that movie in IMAX, you were treated to like the opening scene of Dark Knight Rises as like a teaser.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, including myself, I got to see it too. When you saw that, all that dialogue on the plane with Bane, it was really hard to understand. Like I couldn't almost understand anything he said. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting. I mean, if I remember right, a lot of the reaction from Nolan about it was like, no, it's fine, but when the movie finally did come out, I think he admitted, or whoever admitted, maybe the studio, that they did tweak his dialogue a little bit to make it more, comprehensible. And yeah, so now with this movie, people have been complaining that it's hard to understand dialogue in certain scenes. And so I was curious going into it, and I got to say, at least in my showing, sure enough, like there's definitely scenes in it where the score and the sound design, it can be blaring at times. And hey, I love loud, but at times where it was like, I cannot understand what these people are saying. Now, most of the time, it was dialogue that I don't think was that important to really understand. Like it was like a scene on a ship when something's happening and you get the gist of what they're saying. You kind of don't really need to know. But I will say, without going into spoilers, there is a particular scene in the movie between Michael Caine and Jessica Chastain where he's revealing some pretty major information. And I don't know about you guys, but I was sitting there going, what the fuck is he saying? Like, and I kind of got the gist of it, but I was like, shit, I'm having a really hard time understanding what he's saying. And luckily, in future scenes with other characters, I was able to, obviously figure it out. But, I was like, this is a big deal. Like, this is a major scene and I can't understand what he's revealing to her. It's interesting, like that this is happening. And I'm just so curious, especially, having an audio background. I'm like, how did this happen? Like, is this something that happened on the re-recording stage when they just mixed it this way? Or is it something about the transfer? Is it, and apparently it's not just happening on IMAX presentations. I've read that it's happened in 35 millimeter presentations, and it's really odd. So, I mean, did you guys experience that at all, Bobby?
Yeah, I did. And if you hadn't mentioned it, I was going to say it was that particular scene is where I noticed it, because I was hesitant to do it, but I felt like I wanted to keep leaning forward in my seat to try and hear what he was saying. But I was like, that's not going to do any good, because it's not like it's coming from the front, So I was like, I kept restraining myself, but I was straining as hard as I could to try and hear what he was saying, but I couldn't. And then right after that, when she makes this recording, I don't know if it was intentional that you can't hear the last part of what she says, but I definitely couldn't hear it. And then it wasn't until it was replayed later for another person did I get the message of what she was saying. But that initial time she recorded it, I couldn't hear what she was saying. So yeah, I definitely noticed that mix being a little bit off in those two scenes.
Do you notice at all, Jascha? Did you have that problem?
Yeah, what I see what you're saying, because I actually did feel the same way, especially during the Michael Caine scene. I was like, what? But I feel like that's part of like what he tries to do when he directs the movies, is he wants to try to make them so conversational and almost natural that it just feels like, he's not worried about it, just because it could be that he knows what they're trying to say and the audience will catch on. And, some of that's not fair, because like I got what Michael Caine was saying, but it was like almost to the effect of like shock value, that I was just like, wait, is he really saying what I think he's saying? And I wanted him to be a little clearer in the regards to what he was trying to say, but it wasn't coming through. As for the Jessica Chastain scene where she's, recording something and then she fades out, I think that was intentional for us to really wonder, like, is she really going to say this? And are they going to be able to get that message type of thing? But yeah, I feel the same way. It's just kind of weird that that's, something that we all picked up on.
It's just weird too, you hear these stories like with this film, that Nolan has been like even going around to different theaters in certain cities like New York and whatever, and like checking their sound and checking their visual presentation, their projection and everything, to make sure he seems like such a like micromanaging, like detail oriented guy. He's like, this has to be perfect. That to have a mix like this happening, like just it seems so odd, and then it's not the first time, you know.
And it also sounds like that he's going to be like saying, well, it's like, if you don't understand it, it's not my fault because I've done, you know, the original print and the IMAX version is absolutely perfect of what I've done. So if you can't understand it, it's got to be the theater.
I read an interview with Hans Zimmer. I think it was on HitFix. And they brought up that question to him because the interview happened after it had already started to open. And if I remember right, he just kind of like reacted with, well, you know, he knew about the issue and that, you know, it seemed to be an issue. He felt like, I think, that it seemed to be an issue with, you know, the presentation at particular theaters. And I'm like, well, it sounds like it's happening everywhere, you know? Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know that I completely buy that. But,
maybe he needs to get his hearing checked. He could have an actual problem that we don't know about and he doesn't know about.
Christopher Nolan? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, but, you know, like I imagine, say that's the case, you know, and, you know, on the re-recording stage when they're doing the mix, I can't imagine you've got like a couple re-recording mixers going.
You're going to tell Christopher Nolan that his mixes are?
But still, you know, you got to imagine they'd be like, dude, this makes no fun. You can't even understand what the fuck they're saying. Like, what the hell are you talking about? No, this is perfect. Drown it out. Just drown it. And just pump the music and the sound effects. Yeah. Nobody gives a shit.
Like, all right. I need to hear more boom. It needs to be this, you know. Yeah, it's like, I mean, because I really did feel like there was a couple of scenes where, you know, Matthew McConaughey was talking and it was just kind of so slurred and it was just so like, I can't imagine that was all him. You know, it's just like him being that hard to understand. I feel like a lot of that might have been, you know, some of the mixing problems or the mics picking up or, you know, Christopher Nolan telling him was like, you know, be really emotional. And then, you know, this is what he found emotional. He's like, yeah, keep it like that.
And I mean, speaking of Hans Zimmer, the score, oh my God, the score's so good.
Absolutely.
And it was incredible. And hey, when the music was maybe a bit too loud, don't get me wrong, I didn't mind. The music was fantastic. And this kind of movie is perfect for his kind of writing. I mean, it was impressive. I'm already waiting. I mean, I can't believe the soundtrack's not out yet, but I think it comes out next week. I will be buying it, downloading it, however I can get it as soon as I can. But
it was just, all of it just seemed very emotional, like all of it.
Yeah.
And that's what about it. So I enjoyed it the hell out of it too. But you know, that's kind of like what makes his movie. That's what I felt about Man of Steel. Like when I heard the soundtrack from Man of Steel, I was like, this is pretty phenomenal as well.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it was just this past week that it was finally like confirmed he is indeed writing Batman versus Superman. Not that that's a big surprise. But,
no, it's not.
But I guess he's writing.
Who's writing?
Hans Zimmer is.
Oh, I thought he was just writing
I
Batman.
think
he had someone with him, and one person's writing the score for
Junkie XL, who I think also worked on Man of Steel, if I remember right. Is going to, I guess, concentrate on the Batman side of things.
Yeah, there we go.
And Hans is going to kind of stick with the Superman side. I mean, they're collaborating and they're writing together, but yeah. And so I guess when it comes to the theme, he's not really dealing with the Batman theme since he's already, I guess, written a Batman theme before and he doesn't want to like write a new one. So,
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And I also heard him, because Junkie XL wrote the score for Mad Max Fury Road. And apparently Hans was saying it's fantastic. So now that movie already looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm even extra curious about the movie and the score. But yeah, I love the movie. I'm going to try to see it again. Like I said, I may drive down to Fort Lauderdale and catch it in 70 millimeter because, I mean, you'll never be able to do it again, you know, and that's as close as I can get. But I will say the movie visually is also amazing, but I think maybe there was an expectation problem for me there a little bit where it's like this a movie set in space and there's been so much focus on the fact that he's, you know, projecting this on film on 70 millimeter and 35 millimeter film. And it's so important to him and you have to see this in IMAX. And there was a part of me that I think visually I was expecting maybe something a little more. But I think that's just a really bad expectation problem on my part because it looks fantastic.
Yeah,
it was pretty impressive. Like the black hole sequences, like all the traveling. Like I was like, even part of me was even like, I wonder what this looks like in 3D, because it was just visually incredible. Just like some of the scenes, the wide shots, I was just like, man, this is intense.
Yeah.
So I was thinking the reason why, and we didn't really get into the feelings of it, but a couple of the things that really stood out to me and why I think it resonated with me so much was one of the words that Jascha mentioned earlier in his thoughts was that it was uplifting. And it really was. It was like this really sort of beautiful story that was at the heart of it, just about, love and how it can transcend through time and space. And it was also about just that spirit of mankind and their desire and willingness to continue on. And I just really, I think it was something you don't see all the time, and it was refreshing, because I think most of the movies we keep getting lately have been post-apocalyptic or dystopian futures, and it was nice to see something that had some sort of level of hope to it. And you don't specifically know going into it what can be done, but just the fact that they're willing to try and to keep things going is just such a testament. And I remember thinking like, okay, now I know this movie is really good to me, because I was still thinking about it hours later after I had seen it.
Yeah.
And I even woke up the next day thinking about it still a little bit. And it reminded me of just how much I love the genre of sci-fi, because when they start talking about all these different theories and ideas, it's been so long since movies have talked about science in that sort of way. Whether it's real or not, it doesn't really matter to me, because that's the fiction part of science fiction that comes in for me. So it's like when you're doing those things in Star Trek movies or any other movie that deals in space and being able to travel through that distance, it's all sort of theory anyway. So it's like, I don't know, it doesn't have to be real, but it just needs to sound at least kind of real, and just makes you think of the possibilities of it. And that's really sort of fed into what I love about sci-fi, is just that imagination and the thoughts of what they think future could be like. And it presented itself in such a way that was real and yet still sort of out there in its thinking, that just, it was really strong and powerful to me. And I just really, really enjoyed it from that level of storytelling, as well as just the emotional and heart of the story as well.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say, it was really smart. Like the script, the dialogue, the direction, everything was just, I mean, for lack of a better word to describe it, I just felt that the movie itself was very smartly written, very intelligently written, very smart. Like everything that they're talking about with, time and space and, all this other stuff. And it's just like, you're like, okay, yeah, that's really cool. It's very, very sci-fi.
And kind of, I think, going along with what you're saying, Bobby, about the positive kind of uplifting aspect of the movie, like I think in a lot of other directors' hands, especially like, say a director like Terrence Malick, or a more auteur director, this movie would not have ended the way it did. And I'm not, I know I'm bordering on kind of somewhat in spoiler territory, but the movie does kind of, it wraps things up. And I think this is the kind of movie that I think, coming up to the ending, it's the kind of movie that you could very easily imagine it just kind of ending, and it was nice that it didn't just end. I know particularly like, I saw this, one of the few chances I got to actually see a movie with my wife, and she's the kind of person that hates movies that don't just wrap things up. And she was so thankful that it did, because she was like saying that she had this feeling at a particular scene closer to the end, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just going to end, and I'm going to be so pissed. And it doesn't, it's not unrealistic how it wraps things up, but it does, and it ends it in a nice way.
Yeah, I was pretty pleased and happy that they actually did wrap things up, because I was terrified at moments too where they were just going to stop.
Right.
And I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is bullshit. And just lose my mind, man. But I'm glad that they actually kind of told a continuation story, and okay, here we go, and this is what's going on, and this is where we're at now, and we're done.
That's so weird because I think we all had that same sort of experience then, because I remember thinking a few times where I was like, man, they are totally giving me the Lord of the Rings treatment, because I'm thinking it's going to end right here and then it goes a little bit further. And I'm thinking it's going to end right here and it goes a little bit further.
Yeah.
And so I was just totally thought, okay, we're not going to get a clear cut answer and it's just going to end. And yet he did take it a little bit farther and give you a little bit more each time. So I don't have too many bad things to say about it. I mean, yeah, sure, I could point out a few things, but for me, I think they'd be mostly small quibbles in the sense that no movie is perfect and you're going to always be able to complain about some things. But yeah, exactly. So,
and yeah, like what you're saying, like, I mean, I think you feel the same way. It's not like, at least like when I saw Lord of the Rings and that was the case and it just kept going, it was somewhat more of a negative reaction of like, okay, you can end this now.
Right.
Like
right.
Interstellar, that wasn't the case. I mean, this is a long movie, but I never was like looking at my watch or, cell phone thinking, all right, when the fuck are we getting out of here? I got to go. Like, no,
Yeah.
you could have gone on for another hour. I probably would have been fine.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
I particularly, I love TARS.
He was great.
I never saw the final trailer for this movie. I know you talked about it once, Jascha, and that kind of sealed the deal for me that I was like, nope, I'm not going to watch the final trailer. And so I don't know if that revealed any more about him, but I had no idea that there was like a robot in the film.
Me either.
And yes, you actually do see glimpses of TARS in the earlier trailers, but you don't really know what the hell you're looking at. I didn't know what it was. So I was like, oh, wow, that's an interesting take on our robot. And it was a really interesting design. And yeah, he was great.
Yeah,
it was actually a fantastic way to have the design of a robot. Like, they kind of got away from what everybody's used to seeing, which is like kind of like a humanoid type role.
Absolutely.
So I thought it was great. I thought it was perfect.
It's a bit, like kind of Howl-like, though it's got the humor aspect, but it can move around. It's very generic looking, and yeah, I really dug the design of that. That was cool.
It actually caught me off guard when he first came on the screen because
same here.
I didn't know he was talking. I thought it was something else going on, and then I was like, is it talking? Is that a robot? And I was like so surprised. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool because like Jascha said, you're used to some sort of humanoid looking kind of thing as a robot. And this was almost just like a filing cabinet kind of thing, or like just one of those old school like computer monitor type things. Like a
block of wood. That's what I interpreted as. A block of wood.
Yeah, it's just sort of like a strange looking kiosk kind of thing almost, and you're just thinking, okay, how could that be a robot? But it is, and it's awesome.
Nice. Well, it sounds like we all like the movie. I'm curious. I think there are some spoiler aspects of the movie that maybe we'll talk about later. So maybe if we get to it, we'll record a separate spoiler show for it. But yeah, there was also some interesting casting stuff that I wasn't even aware of that kind of appears in the film that was kind of cool. But
yeah, after like we talked about the trailer, the final trailer, when when we mentioned it, a month ago or so, whatever. Yeah. I stopped reading and or looking up anything about Interstellar. I was like, okay, I'm sold. I don't need to see anything else. I don't want anything ruining it for me, because the last trailer really did it for me. I was just like, really kind of this whoa type of feeling, and then I was just like, okay, I'm not reading anything about it. I mean, even the other day when I was online doing some work, I saw something. Oh, we can finally talk about the secret spoiler guest appearance, and I'm like, nope. I completely left the web page because I didn't even want to see picture or anything like that trying to get into it, because I just did not want it ruined.
Right. So yeah, I was going to see Big Hero 6 this weekend, but that didn't happen. I guess none of us got a chance to see it.
No, I wished I could have seen it, but I didn't get a chance.
Yeah, I'm really going to try to sneak it in sometime this week. So hopefully next podcast, we can all talk about that too. But
cool.
I was going to see it today, but yeah, it was going to involve going to a movie theater I'm just not a fan of, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It was like the only showtime I could fit in, and it's actually this movie theater that's like the closest one to my house. It's an AMC too, but I kind of refuse to go there.
No, it's an AMC, and it's not a good theater.
Yeah, hey, I'm not going to talk. Hey, there's plenty of AMC theaters I love, and I don't want to. I'm not going to call out this particular theater on air. And There's one or two AMC theaters locally that are definitely one or two of my go-to theaters, but this particular one is definitely not one of them.
Wow.
I think the last straw for me was I saw Ted there, and the entire movie, the center channel dialogue was coming out of the left surrounds, and it was just someone like me. It was driving me insane. Like, yeah. I mean, luckily it was a movie. It was just kind of a stupid comedy like Ted. I mean, if this had been Interstellar, I'd have walked out, like no way. But yeah, after that, I was like, yep, I'm done. Never coming back here again. I think I did go back there one more time after that. But
okay.
But for the most part, I avoid it. It's not one of their better theaters.
Oh, that's too bad.
But anyway.
Hey, maybe it was one of the things where they just didn't have good staff and they probably changed it over. Maybe there's someone that's more knowledgeable about those things and willing to fix them, that it's probably a better experience.
It might
now.
be. And it could be great now. And maybe I should give him another chance.
Yeah.
It might have been
just on something that maybe you're not as. Yeah, exactly.
But it's the kind of thing where, to me, like that's pretty bad. Like the whole thing with the dialogue out of the other speakers, I feel like at some point somebody should be walking in to make sure everything's cool, or the projection. I don't know what it's like to be a projectionist, but stick their head in. Hey, are things all right? Oh, wow. Yeah. Things are not all right here. I got to fix this. Nothing happened. And, I get that I'm extra picky about my movies. There's like I said, I kind of have go-to theaters around town, and I really only go to those because they are consistently the ones that I know if I go there, I'm going to get a good projection, good sound. Because then there's other theaters that half the time I go there and it's slightly out of focus, and it's, I hate dealing with that shit. But anyway.
Yeah, I get you.
In terms of box office this weekend, it looks like Big Hero 6 won though. Just barely. They both pulled in over 50 million. Big Hero 6 pulled in 56.2. Interstellar pulled in 50 for the weekend, but its total is at 52.1 since it came out early on 70 millimeter and 35 millimeter. So it was a good box office weekend.
Yeah, that's good numbers.
Yeah. Gone Girl at number 3. Man, I can't believe that's still number 3.
Wow.
Hell yeah, Gone Girl was the shit.
Yeah, well, it was awesome. But
well, it's too bad just because for me, I was like, I wouldn't mind seeing. You didn't read the rest of the list, but I wouldn't mind seeing like John Wick and Nightcrawler up in that top 5 as well, because those were two good movies that deserve some attention too.
Yeah, I mean they're not too far off. You got Ouija at number 4, Saint Vincent at number 5, and Nightcrawler 6, Furious 7, John Wick is 8.
Yeah,
and I still want to see Birdman. I don't even think that's still playing here. I gotta see that.
Every time I see something about Birdman or hear somebody talk about it, I start to get upset because it's like I don't understand why. I usually live in a location where I tend to get to see a lot of movies that have at least a decent amount of buzz about them in one of the theaters, and it's nowhere that I can see it close.
You'd have to probably drive to LA, I guess.
Yeah, and it's infuriating to me that it's not a little bit closer. I don't understand why it's not, especially with the buzz that's behind it. So it gets me upset thinking that I can't see this movie that everyone's talking about.
And it's slowly expanded. It looks like it added a little over 200 screens this week. But it's still, only at 462.
Yeah.
So it's still fairly limited, pretty limited. So.
And I don't even know if it'll open too much more wider than
Probably
that.
not.
I would hope.
I'd hope, but it's getting a lot of buzz. Everyone, half the stuff I hear about it are people saying it's the best film of the year.
Yeah.
And if it's really that good, and usually movies that they'll very slowly make it to almost full wide release,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll just wait and just basically gauge it off of what their income is coming out. Because if you remember correctly, like Little Miss Sunshine started off in a limited release, and then that movie just took off, and everybody loved it. And they're like, okay, well let's give it a push, and everything started to really snowball for that movie too.
Yeah.
So it could have the same effect.
It just makes. I'm starting to get more mad about it every time because it just makes me so upset. It's like, why are you showing me previews and commercials for a movie I can't go see that's like not right in my local area. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but sometimes they will show commercials for restaurants that aren't even in your local vicinity. And you're like, why is that a commercial showing this food that I can't ever taste because it's like a 2-hour drive from me? I can't experience it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
no, I'm with you on that, Bobby, because I see commercials all the time for restaurants and I'm an eater. So I'm just like, man, what the hell is happening? Like, I wish I knew where a Carrabba's was, because
that's what the one I was thinking of. That commercial is always on. I don't know where that place is.
You guys don't have Carrabba's in Southern California?
Well, they show the commercial, but it's like, where is it? I don't know. That's like when they used to show Dunkin' Donut commercial all the time, but there was no Dunkin' Donuts in California until like 2 months ago. But the commercials were on all the time. So you're like, I can't get any of these Captain America cupcakes or anything that you're selling right now because I don't have one near me. So don't show me this commercial. And it's like here with this Birdman.
It's like the world runs on Dunkin'. The fuck it does. The world runs on like the East Coast may run on Dunkin', but we don't.
The East Coast definitely runs on Dunkin'.
Yeah.
We got plenty of those. But then, like, I've also here, I want to say I've seen like Jack in the Box commercials here, and we don't have those here. Like at all. Like I don't even know what the closest state they would be in.
Dude, I can think of like 4 on my way to work. That's just
right.
4 minutes away. It's a 20-minute drive. I can think of like 4 that I could probably hit. 3, maybe 3 or 4 I can hit. And one of them is literally within walking distance directly across the street from my office.
That's true.
Not that I'm dying for Jack in the Box. I'm just,
You want the 99 tacos? Let's not lie. Don't lie. Everybody. 99 tacos.
Hey, I gotta say, as much crap as everyone in Southern California talks about it, I was excited when we finally got a Del Taco here in Orlando. like we only got a Del Taco here like a year ago, or maybe it was a couple years ago, and I was like, wow, oh my god, finally something like from back in LA. Like, I know.
Here's what you do: you don't eat Del Taco in the middle of the day when you have some common sense. You need to go at like 2:00 in the morning. All common sense has been flown out the window, and you're 3 sheets to the wind drunk on anything. Yeah. Then it will be magical.
Especially when you get that, what's that, $9 or after 9 box meal where it comes with all this good stuff for $5 or something outrageous. It's like saying what they give you in this box, and you can only get it after 9 o'clock. It's so delicious.
Yeah, you just sit there and you'll have it. And trust me, David, I mean, you have it when you're drunk, and you just be like, how did I ever survive off of it without this in my life? Like
we just had Taco Bell. That's what we did instead.
I gotta say, for as much as I hate not being able to taste the things that they show you commercials on, I would kick a hole in my freaking TV screen if I ever saw a commercial for White Castle. Because I love White Castle. I can't get it unless I go visit my mom or something over in the Midwest and the East Coast. So if I ever saw a commercial, my TV would be done because I can't get it, and it's one of the things I would love to be able to get on a whim.
Yeah, unless I remember, like, I think it was like the Harold and Kumar sequel when they built that White Castle on Sunset.
Yes, and I went there.
You did?
I did go there.
That's awesome.
That is pretty awesome. I'm with you on that one. If they had started advertising over here, I would lose my shit. I would be like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You tell me one that's in a 50 to 75 mile radius, and I will go.
Right?
Yeah, I've never had had White Castle. We don't have them here. So.
Oh man, good stuff.
I think it's a Northeast thing specifically. But anyway, well, moving on to some news. Star Wars has the title now, guys.
Yay!
So if you haven't heard, Star Wars Episode VII is going to be called The Force Awakens.
I just want a teaser. That's all I want. Like, they've done that party.
I feel like it's just rumor. I really am not buying into it, but I know a lot of people are speculating that we might actually get something like a teaser before the end of the year. Which, if we did, it's not even going to have footage in it. It's just going to be like, space and then a title.
The speculation I saw was there would be footage, and that it would be attached to Into the Woods, which is another Disney film that comes out on December 25th, I believe. So it'd be like a Christmas present to everyone.
So I guess, I mean, because my first thought would be The Hobbit, just because it seems like it'd be like the biggest film that you would attach something like that to. But yeah, I guess I guess Into the Woods makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest Disney film that's coming out in Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did you guys think of the title?
Force Awakens? I mean, it's fine. I don't really have much of an opinion about it. It's, I don't know. It's so out of context. I don't really, What did you think, Jascha?
No, it was fine. I mean, it wasn't like The Force Awakens is like, I guess, but I mean, did it fall asleep? Like, I don't understand. Like, I was just kind of like, all right.
Well, only reason why I asked. Oh, go ahead, Yash.
No, it's just like I'm looking forward to it, but it's not necessarily like, I mean, a thing where I'm just like, oh, that's oh my god, that's totally awesome. It's like blew my mind, my wig back or whatever. It's just like, okay, cool.
Well, I was just gonna say that the only reason why I really asked is because I know that David, you're I wouldn't say a stickler for titles, but I just know the
After visceral reaction,
that you had to the Batman versus Superman title, that maybe you had some sort of
Superman.
Yeah, Batman v Superman, that you maybe had more of a reaction to this one way or the other. So.
No, I mean, it's a typical Star Wars title, and it's fine. To me, this isn't anything like the Batman versus Superman thing. And it's funny you mention it because just before we were recording, I was looking at a site and I was watching the video that I don't know if you guys have seen of because now they're shooting in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And a video came out from like some local news station in Chicago where they're talking about all the road closures because of the production, and they show some footage of like a cameraman getting a shot of Superman like holding Lois Lane and everything. And I was watching that and reading the article and thinking again about that title and how at one point in the article they just referred to it quickly as just Dawn of Justice, and I'm like, I wish it was just called that. I get that it's not. There's no way they don't put Batman and Superman in that title.
Yeah,
you can't not do that. The studio, there's no way. But I wish in a perfect world you could just call it Dawn of Justice. That'd be fine.
Yeah,
sorry.
Could you imagine?
I know we're going off on a tangent.
In a perfect world, they would have just said Batman versus Superman instead of Batman v Superman. So
or that too,
I mean, I guess titles don't bother me as much. Like if this Star Wars movie had just been called Star Wars Episode VII, we're going to take your money. It just would have been like, sure you are, because you're going to take multiple. You're going to take it multiple times. You got that title right on, so it wouldn't matter to me what you call it.
Yeah,
Star Wars rape since 1977. All right, I'm there. Let's do it.
They would have had to have gone really outlandish for me to probably have a really visceral opinion on this,
Yeah.
Like if it had to have been pretty crazy. Yoda's back or something like that, I'd be like, no, he's not. What the fuck?
Yeah. No, he's not. He died. He disappeared like years ago.
So yeah, Force Awakens. But one thing I did have a negative opinion on though is this damn Toy Story 4 news.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah.
Have we ever talked about Toy Story 3?
I don't think. I wasn't around when you guys did.
I know. I have on here before with, I think in particular Christy. We had a very differing opinion on that. She was pretty upset with me. But I want to say I love Toy Story, and the first Toy Story film, one of my favorite films of all time. I love it, and I remember even before that came out. Of course, that was the first Pixar film. And I remember the first time I saw a trailer for Toy Story, and I thought, man, that just looks awful. It was one of, if not the first, computer animated, film.
Yeah.
And I just remember the look of it was just so, you never really had seen anything like that before on film. And it just looked so, at the time, it just seemed kind of cheap looking, compared to hand drawn. And I'm just like, God, that just looks crap. And then I remember finally seeing the movie and being like, wow, was I wrong? That was fantastic. I loved it. And I even liked the second one. But the third one, I get that I'm in the minority because everybody loves Toy Story 3. And you go on Rotten Tomatoes and it's probably got a 98%. And I mean, and it made, I think, at least before Frozen came around, it was like the highest grossing animated film ever. And it wasn't there for me. I don't know. It just felt like the same thing over again. I get that it ended great. I love the way Toy Story 3 ended and kind of wrapped up the trilogy, which is no longer a trilogy. But, you know, for the most part, it was just like, wow, this is the same story over again. I saw this at part 2, you know, I don't know. And it was just like the same jokes, the claw and all that shit. I'm like, oh, God, can we do something else? I don't know. I could go on and on about Toy Story 3.
Dude, Toy Story 3 has a 99% rating.
Does it really?
I'm not shit.
It's one of the only movies that still has that high of a rating.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
99%.
I guess I'm curious to know what you guys think, but I just know, like, I don't get it. I do not understand that it's just the same. I mean, Pixar they were on a run, man. I think that was like their 10th film, 10th or 11th.
Uh-huh.
And up until that film, man, they were like Marvel, where they could do no wrong. You know,
Yeah.
They were making movie after movie, and they were all great. And then for me, that movie came along, and I was like, oh man, this is it. And then like that, and then Cars 2, and just
Cars 2 was garbage. I didn't even think Cars 1 was that great.
Yeah,
to me, that's where it started to dip for me for Pixar was that Cars.
And I agree with that too. You know, of the group, Cars is definitely not my favorite, but I still feel like it's a good movie. It's just definitely like the bottom of the list for me, at least, you know, in that first 10 films. But then,
I didn't even bother to see planes or whatever the hell that was.
Well, that's not even Pixar. So.
No, wasn't there one that was Pixar? The emergency vehicle one or something like that?
It's Walt Disney
Fire and
Animation,
Rescue.
but it's not Pixar.
Yeah.
I thought that was Pixar.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's pretty much Cars. It's like that same world of Cars. So you would assume, and it makes complete sense that you would assume it's Pixar because it, you know, but it technically no, it's not.
Yeah.
See, I saw Toy Story 3. Maybe I need to watch it again. I mean, I liked it. I thought they wrapped it up really nicely. I thought it was a really nice ending because it was, you know, they revisited that whole world and kind of like showed generational, you know, development and whatnot. I thought it was great. Do I think they need a fourth? It better be a damn good idea that they're like, you know what, this is an actual really good continuation of the story, because the way that they wrapped it up was actually, I thought, really nicely done. To the point where it's like, okay, we're done with this series. Let's move on. But now it's just almost kind of pointless. You know, it feels sad. Like, okay, well, let's go back to a franchise that actually was really, really successful. So we'll revisit Toy Story.
Hey, I get it in terms of money. It's going to make a shit ton of money for the company, the studio. I mean, it makes sense that they would do this. I mean, I think it's unfortunate, you know, just how it's inevitable there will be a Frozen 2. You know, it's going to happen. Of course. Why would you not? If I were Disney, I would make a Toy Story 4. But the one thing I liked about Toy Story 3 was how it wrapped up the trilogy, and now you're kind of just going to keep going with it. And I've heard some people go, well, hey, you know, there's been a bunch of like, you know, short Toy Story films on TV after the trilogy and stuff like that. But I'm like, yeah, but that's outside of the movie kind of realm. You know, it's different. Who cares about that?
Absolutely.
Do you care about Toy Story 4, Bobby?
Yeah, I do. And when I heard the news, I was like, oh, come on, really? You know, I was just sort of a little bit sad that they went to the well again, because I thought that they had done a good 3 and it was a good way to go out on top sort of thing, and just continue on with the side stories that you see on TV and before some of the other Pixar films that happen every now and then. And that would have been fine to me. And to go with a 4th on paper, it just seems like, it's just that cash grab. And it's like, man, when you stop doing it for the love of what you're doing it for and doing it for the money, it just starts to rub a little bit. It's not that no one does that. It's just that usually it's not so obvious in such a way that it's like there was no reason to sort of reawaken the franchise in the sense that it seemed like it ended in such a good way. And so, I'll watch it, but at the same time, it's like I could have gone on without seeing a 4, especially not having seen an Incredibles 2 yet. I mean, it seems to boggle my mind that they're still only on an Incredibles 1 without having done a sequel to that before having 4 Toy Stories.
Yeah, though I think there will be a Incredibles 2 before Toy Story 4. At least I think it was
right?
announced. Okay. But I don't see. I'm actually looking at a list here, and I don't think it has a year yet, so it doesn't have a date. But it does have it listed. But yeah, I mean, I really just wish Pixar would get more into some original films, and they are. They've got Inside Out coming up, and The Good Dinosaur. Yeah. Which I really can't wait for, because I mean, some of their stuff like WALL-E and Up, man, so fucking good. I want more of that.
And original.
And original.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But no, we're going to.
Especially WALL-E, when there's like literally no dialogue for like, an hour into the movie. It's just basically watching this guy roll around.
Yep.
And hey, I loved Finding Nemo, and hopefully Finding Dory is good. Dory was great. Love Dory, but still, I'm like, just as much as I love Finding Nemo, I think I'd rather just do something else now. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Toy Story 4 is coming in 2017, I think it is. And at least, for me, it looks good that John Lasseter is coming back to direct it. He didn't direct the third film. He directed 1 and 2. So
what would you do? I'll ask both of you guys this. If Disney Pixar started to do something like where they were like Marvel and started to make a shared universe for all their films, do you think that they could pull that off, or it would even be good to see something like that where you would see Toy Story crossing over with some other like franchise, that type of thing?
I don't know if that'd be a good idea.
They already have the speculations and the articles written all over the place. The worlds are already all connected as it is.
I've heard that too.
I was like, what are you going to see? You're going to see the Incredibles, and then all of a sudden Woody come running across the screen, with Mr. Incredible and stuff like that. It's like, that's not necessary.
Well, the biggest thing that would make no sense is Cars and everything else, Yeah. Like, how the hell would that fit in?
Yeah.
You could get that like, the Finding Nemo is there in the same world as the Incredibles and Toy Story. That that makes sense. But Cars, that's out there.
Yeah, Cars would be next to impossible to fit in, because you never see a human anything in that film.
Yeah, exactly.
That I can remember.
No, okay. I mean, they're the people, or cars and planes and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that
wouldn't work.
If they found a way to pull that off, I'd be interested to know how they did it. Yeah. Like, where does it fit in this universe? Like, it's somebody's weird experiment, like inside a jar, this Cars world or something. I don't know.
Someone's imagination.
Yeah.
One of the kids from Toy Story is his imagination.
Right.
That he plays with his car sets and planes, and that's his thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Just curious.
Yeah. Well, this is weird, man. We haven't talked about any comic book movie news. So let's fix that. Hey, so did you hear about Suicide Squad and Joker?
Yes. I'm jumping in here, Bobby. I was like, I was reading about this, all week, basically, or Wednesday, whenever it started, and all the different articles. I'm excited. I hope that, I kind of feel like they have to put the Joker in it because he's such an iconic role and character. And fine, let's find somebody else to do it. I think that'd be great. And the person that they have been talking about, or at least it sounds like they're leaning mostly towards right now, is Jared Leto. And that guy really, really gets into roles when he plays something. So it's like, I would actually be kind of cool if he did it.
Yeah. What do you think, Bobby?
The same. I mean, as soon as I heard it, it was not a name that I had even thought of. But as soon as I read it, I was like, "Yep, that could work. I could see that happening." And so, like you said, he's such an iconic figure. It's not like they could ever just leave him alone and retire him, like it was because Heath Ledger died and you got to retire the jersey of the Joker. No, he's an iconic figure, and somebody else is going to play that character at some point in time. And there's been enough time in between that we can see him on screen with someone else portraying him, and someone like Jared Leto, it would be perfect to me. So I think the only problem I have with the whole thing is it seems like every time when I start to talk about Batman, I start to hone in on his age, and the age he's supposed to be in this Batman versus Superman world is in his 50s, and yet the Joker, he would be, I don't know, younger, but like would this be their first encounter whenever they encounter each other, or have they fought in the past? And if they did, then Batman would have been younger, which would mean Joker would have been younger, so he would have probably been in his teens. I don't know. It starts to mess with my mind a little bit when I think about how the age is supposed to be of Batman being an older character in this series.
Yeah, or could Suicide Squad be like someone in the past? You know,
right?
Not necessarily in line with Batman versus Superman and that time, this whole new timeline. Similar to, I guess, what the rumor is going around about Wonder Woman, which is that it will be like set in the 1920s.
Yeah, I've read that.
Yeah, I agree
like
with the Jared Leto thing too. I hadn't thought about that either, and when I saw that, I was like, wow, that seems perfect.
Yeah, like when like Bobby said, it's like, I really do feel like, just in the articles that I've read too, it's like, yeah, enough time has passed. I understand Christopher Nolan not wanting to go with a different Joker for the next Batman movie. I totally get that, and I'm on board with that. But it's like, you're not going to take away this like character. Like this guy's the Joker is so nostalgic and synonymous basically with Batman that it's like it's almost silly to even think of that you would do that. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, the Joker's going to be around again, sooner or later. It's like he's got to be. It's like now it's just a matter of finding somebody that's willing to sign on for a multi-picture deal, because they are basically basing making these movies with the idea that, okay, well, we're going to sign you, but understand that we're going to need you for at least 4 movies or 3 movies.
Yeah, I mean, if Warner Brothers and DC are actually able to lock down some of this talent that we're at least hearing about, like Will Smith and Tom Hardy and Margot Robbie, and it'll be interesting. They can lock down some major talent, not just kind of no names. It'll be really interesting to see how this universe plays out.
Well, it's just them taking a cue from Marvel, because that's what Marvel's been doing, is like, let's just go with like A-list characters, A-list actors to play these A-list characters that we have and see how it goes. Like, I think Margot Robbie would make an excellent Harley Quinn. I bet she would just rip that role to shreds. Did they say Tom Hardy would be coming back to play Bane?
No.
Is that what
I think the theory was some other character. But the thing I'll say, I don't know. I feel compared to what Marvel's done, and Marvel's done a fantastic job at what they've done. But I think most of the actors they've really cast haven't been so much A-list. Other than Chris Evans definitely had more of a background. But like Chris Hemsworth before Thor, I mean, what did you really know him before that?
That's very true. Very true.
And you getting somebody like Will Smith and
who's been around for decades now.
Yeah, and Jared Leto. I mean, Oscar-winning actor to play the Joker, and it'd be pretty impressive. It'll actually make that all happen.
Yeah, now this is totally off key, with what we're saying, because Jared Leto, just coming off of an Oscar win, is a really talented actor who really adapts into his role. But I've always kind of wanted to see like Christian Slater play the Joker, because I think he would be phenomenal as the Joker. I'm not lying. I'm not bullshitting. Tim, I think we talked about this once before, Bobby. You said Tim Curry would make an awesome Joker too. And I'm like, yeah, that would actually be really cool to see, because you forget about him. But both of them have that really big wolf type grin, and they could just rip the role to shreds, I think. I really do.
I haven't seen Tim Curry in a long time, man. Is he even doing anything anymore?
I don't think so. But I was thinking back in the day, Tim Curry.
Yeah.
He is. I know he hasn't been in anything in a while, or at least something that, public enough for us to remember it, but he's a boss. He's awesome.
Oh, he's awesome. I agree, but he's got to be getting up there now.
Sure. Well, when we were talking about like as far as the casting, and I know I mentioned it to David, is that what Marvel tends to do is for their big characters, they can get B-list actors or relatively unknown people, because like DC, these characters are so iconic, you're showing up for the character more so than the actor playing the character.
Right.
Whereas with DC, if they're going to do a movie like Suicide Squad, it behooves them to get A-list actors to attract them to a movie that most people don't know those characters. So, and then you throw in someone like Joker that has name recognition, then you up the ante on people wanting to go see that film right out the box. Where with Marvel, when they had Guardians of the Galaxy, they still had some relative unknowns in that film, but they were strong enough and they believed enough in the property that they said, well, we can do this. We have a good track record with the public perception that they'll still turn out for this, and it works for them. But DC isn't quite on that level just yet to where they can take that gamble. And so for them to fill a movie with with actors for characters that aren't that well known, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. So I'm curious, when you guys saw Man of Steel, were you shocked that there wasn't a post-credit scene?
No.
Were you looking for one and like, where the fuck is it?
I was kind of looking for one. Yeah.
I was hoping. I had high hopes, but no, I didn't expect it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I sat through the credits and I was like kind of expecting something because, you know, we had already been told that this was going to be the beginning of some type of universe, even though at that point we knew nothing about what that universe was going to be. So I think I was kind of expecting like some type of tease, you know, and I think we've gotten so used to it with Marvel, how they do it, that, you know, of course they'll probably do the same thing. When they didn't, I was kind of like, oh, wow, they didn't take that opportunity to do anything. Like, that's just it. You know, but I mean, I wasn't too shocked, but I was surprised. But I don't know if you guys heard that there was news that came out this week. I think it was The Guardian in the UK did an interview or a piece, and it was about Christopher Nolan and Interstellar. And I guess something came up about that it's his fault that there wasn't a post-credit scene in Man of Steel, that he's the one that shot it down. And I think the quote that went like, you know, apparently he said, you know, the studio, I guess, approached Zack Snyder about, hey, we want you to put something like humorous at the end of the credits. And Nolan apparently said, a quote, a real movie wouldn't do that. But there's been an update to that. I guess he has specifically now said, like, hey, I would never say that. I would never say someone else's film isn't a real film and that the quote isn't accurate. So who knows why it actually didn't happen. But if you had heard that, you know, that's what he said, that's the update, that apparently he's claiming that's not exactly how it went down.
Yeah, Bobby and I actually talked about that earlier this week because I think I was the one I told you about it, Bobby, and I was like, yeah, look for this because this is kind of like, it actually tarnished a little bit of my depiction of Nolan a little bit with that. It's like, I was like, dude, that's kind of arrogant, bro. Like, it's kind of an asinine thing to say. I mean, really rude. On top of that, it's like, considering the fact that you've made half of your, you know, the past 10 years you've been working on a comic book movie, to sit there and really kind of take a shot at Marvel like that is just kind of out of, you know, not really the greatest thing for you to be doing. You know, it's like, I didn't like it. I didn't like that he said that. If, you know, and the fact that he's trying to backtrack on it, I don't really think that the person that published it would, you know, misquote him on something so big. But, you know, other people have done that. So, you know, it could be wrong.
I also feel like if he did say those words, maybe it's taken out of context in a way where it's maybe it didn't go down as badly as it sounds, if that makes any sense, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't there. We don't know.
Yeah. But I read the article too. I understand, like, I mean, that they were talking about, and it's just like, yeah, you know, it sounds like he's kind of being a dick, but, you know, could be, you know, it's like, but it could, you know, just could be misinterpreted, I guess, or whatever. So,
yeah.
And the fact that he's trying to do, feels like, you know, of course he's going to have to do some sort of damage control, because that is a really rude thing to say about somebody else's movies, especially when their movies are basically, you know, kicking ass and taking names.
Right. Well, I guess it's probably just you wanted that universe to take a different direction.
Yeah.
Now he's not going to really be involved anymore, so it doesn't matter. They can do whatever they want.
Pretty much.
Well, you guys got anything else before we get out of here?
Oh, well, I thought maybe you might want to talk about one of the people you were saying earlier as being one of your favorites. Hello, Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I forgot about the Hateful Eight casting. Yeah. Hateful Eight. When is this Hateful Eight coming out? I need to start a countdown clock. Yeah. So yeah, the final cast was officially announced for Hateful Eight. Even Channing Tatum, the rumor that had been going on, I guess earlier in the week, but he apparently hadn't really officially signed on. Now he's signed on too. But the cast goes something like this: we got Samuel L. Jackson, and I believe it's him and Kurt Russell, which are bounty hunters in the film. Jennifer Jason Leigh's in the film. We have Walton Goggins, Damian Brashear, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Bruce Dern. That's quite a cast.
Dude, I'm so psyched to see Tim Roth working with Quentin Tarantino again. I love that guy.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome. That guy is so awesome. I can't wait to see what he does.
Yeah, I guess he didn't do anything since Pulp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, Four Rooms. That was part of it.
Well, that was yeah.
You know.
Was that just produced by?
Did he write? I think he wrote some of that movie, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he wrote. I think he did like the celebrity one where the very, very last scene. Or let me see if I can find it.
Who can search for it first?
Well, did you like the casting announcement too, David?
Me? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, come on. Like, especially, I mean, I have not read the script, even though I know it's been all over the internet, and I know apparently he's made tweaks to it since it got leaked, I think, and so I know it's not really. At least there's a lot of people know what this story is, but I do not. I haven't. I haven't really read anything about it, and I don't want to. So I don't know if any of these characters have bigger roles than others, but it almost sounds like maybe like Samuel L. Jackson and Kurt Russell are, probably have bigger roles than most of them, and to them to be paired up together will be, I'm excited about that. And then Bruce Dern and Michael Madsen again with him, and Tim Roth, like you're saying, Jascha, and this is going to be something else.
I think I'm in the minority when I say that when I saw the casting announcement, I was a little bit disappointed in the cast that they got, the actors. And
you want something new?
Last week when me and you, we were talking about how people saying that Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, they were saying it was sort of the safe bet,
choice.
The safe choice and not anything sort of new. I think I kind of get it a little bit more now when I think about this movie, and that everybody that's listed on there is going to kill it and knock it out of the park. But I think one of the things I enjoy most when Quentin Tarantino has something is when he works with someone new, because it's like I would never have thought to see this person in a Quentin Tarantino film, and now they're there, like Leonardo DiCaprio, like Jamie Foxx. And so it's like I kind of like seeing those odd pairings that I never would have guessed. So when you see the cast of this and it's a lot of familiars, you know what you're going to get to a certain degree. And so it's like, okay, he's working with the people he's comfortable with and he knows them, and that's going to be good. But I'd never seen DiCaprio act the way he acted in that film before in any of his other roles. So it was something new that you're getting out of a established actor that you aren't used to seeing. So I think I had a little bit of aspirations of that, hopeful that there'd be some people in there that I never seen before. But with what we got, I'm already expecting it to be great on just that level alone.
I get what you're saying, because Quentin Tarantino brings something out of an actor that you, like you just said, that you never have seen before. Mm-hmm. And like Jonah Hill in Django Unchained, even though he didn't have a very big role, I was like, wow, Jonah Hill's going to be in this. That'll be interesting. And it was interesting to see him in it. And I mean, just imagine like if he directed a movie, and I mean, just anybody like Tina Fey and Seth Rogen were in it. You would be, agree that I would be like, wow, this is going to be crazy.
You hear Jascha's exclamation just now? That's what I was thinking in that sense. Just something that would blow your mind. That
because
like,
know that you would see a side of those actors that you will have never seen before, and you'll probably never see again.
Absolutely.
Because he's able to pull that off. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And even so, I'm still excited about this casting because he has worked with these actors and it's always been great. And like, hopefully it'll be great again. But you're right. Like, it would be nice to see like maybe almost a completely new lineup. Kind of like even with Kill Bill. I mean, for the most part, Kill Bill, even though you had Michael Madsen in that, for the most part, that was, you got to touch Samuel L. Jackson in it too.
Exactly.
But really,
there you go. But no, for the most part, she, like, if you think about Vivica A. Fox, that's the best role she's ever had.
Oh, yeah.
And but it was because of Quentin Tarantino bringing that out of her. So yeah, exactly. That's
and
a
even
good point
and
to
Uma
make.
Thurman. I mean, hey, she's been in other good things, but I've never seen her in anything like Kill Bill. I mean that'll always be her best role, at least for me.
Yeah, no, agreed. He has a really unique talent of being able to, like, not only just bring things out from people, but he also, like, finds the talent of, like, oh yeah, forgotten talent, like David Carradine showing up and just like, oh, he's going to be Bill, and he turns out to be this complete amazing sociopath that we just love to hate in that movie. It's just bringing characters that we haven't seen actors that we haven't seen in a long time, and giving them these roles to play, and then just ripping them to pieces.
Yeah.
Well, maybe next time. Hopefully. Yeah.
Well, you never know. I mean,
now that you say this, Bobby, now I'm all disappointed. I'm like, fuck.
Way to burst the bubble.
Thanks.
But no, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, he could have somebody showing up in the movie that we don't know that's going to be there that just automatically shows up. I mean, it's far be it from him to, have a surprise for us, because he has done it before. He'll do it again. You're just like, oh shit, I forgot all about that. Or that person, oh yeah, he's awesome in this right now.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a lot of actors too, like, Will Smith, who just isn't willing to do it, but you're also going to have a lot of other actors that would probably jump at the chance to work with Quentin.
Did you hear why he didn't do it? I just recently only learned why he decided not to do it.
I guess I haven't heard anything recently. I mean, the only thing I heard, and I don't know if what I heard is true, is just, back, when Django was still being cast, that it was just kind of like not wanting to really, do a film. Like it was almost just too edgy for him.
Yeah, see, now that was what I originally heard as well. But then just recently, because of this whole casting with Hateful Eight, and they were talking about Django Unchained, they were saying that one of the other main reasons wasn't even the script or how edgy it was. It was that at that point in time in Will's career, he didn't want to take any roles where it wasn't him center stage and he had the spotlight, or if it wasn't a film with him and one of his kids in it. And so it was like he didn't want to share that shine with Leonardo DiCaprio or anyone else that was going to be
Christoph
sort of
Waltz,
yeah. He just wanted it all on him. So I was like, oh man, that's a sucky reason. If that's true.
If that's true, I mean, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and hope that that's not, because
I would hope so.
If that is true, I mean, that would kill any opinion I have about him.
Yeah. So I would hope that's not true too, because yeah, that's a sorry reason. You would think you'd want to work with other good actors and elevate your own game and be able to bounce off of them and experience something new. Like, when else are you going to get to work with these other players, So yeah, I would hope that's not true.
Yeah, I hope not. If it is, man, you're definitely not going to get him to do a movie like Suicide Squad.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Unless he's really changed his opinion on things after making a movie like After Earth. Okay.
Exactly.
I give up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Now you've kind of bummed me out, Bobby.
Oh, sorry to end on a downer. Well, okay. Then here's a pick me up. You know that Mark Wahlberg is going to be playing the $6 billion man?
No, I didn't know that.
I've heard about that, but honestly, I really have no. I don't know. I don't know much about the $6 billion man.
Oh, oh my God. I was glued in front of the TV set every week when that came on.
It's something I've never watched, and I just kind of have no opinion on it. Sorry.
Oh, that's such a shame. Did you ever watch it, Jascha? Were you a fan?
Not really.
No. Man, I loved it. I loved it so much. It was like, for me, I mean, I've always been into superheroes and comic books and stuff. So that was like as close as I could come to one in that time during the 70s when it came on. And I loved it so much. And when I saw that they were going to make a remake at one point in time, I think they were going to do it with, I think it was Will Ferrell, and it was going to be sort of like a comedy take on it. And I was like, oh no, you're going to ruin my childhood. And then,
like that Land of the Lost film he made.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Exactly. So knowing that this movie is coming out with Mark Wahlberg, and I like him when he's in these types of action kind of roles, and he knows his lane and he does well in it. But what really sells me on it, and I've talked about him before and how much I like this director, but Peter Berg is directing, and those two worked already previously together with Lone Survivor. And so this is sort of like their follow-up movie together. And I think they're just going to knock it out of the park, and it'll be really good. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't have an opinion. Maybe it's the kind of thing I'll see a trailer for this and be like, oh, wow, that looks awesome. And I'll be excited. But it's not something I have any background with. So sorry.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Though I was bummed to hear about the news about the Steve Jobs movie. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it was so interesting to hear. Okay, cool. Christian Bale's going to be Steve Jobs in this Aaron Sorkin written film, which, you know, if you guys don't know about, I love Aaron Sorkin and his writing. I mean, I don't think many people dislike him, but you know, West Wing, one of my favorite shows of all time, if not my favorite show. So anyway, I'm a fan. So yeah, I'm excited about this movie, and to hear Christian Bale is going to be Steve Jobs, that sounds awesome. And then to hear that Seth Rogen's going to be Steve Wozniak, I'm like, wow, that's going to be an interesting pairing.
yeah.
But then, yeah, I guess Christian Bale backs out, and now at least, you know, the rumor going around is that Fassbender may be the next choice to play Steve Jobs, which sounds like it'd probably be a good pick.
I can't see him as him, though.
You don't think so?
Not visually, no. I just have a hard time. Like, for whatever reason, when I heard Bale, I was like, okay, I can see it.
Yeah,
and
Bale sounds like it makes more sense. I will agree with that.
It's just, I don't know. I keep thinking that when I see Fassbender as Jobs, I'll be thinking of it as Fassbender as Jobs, and not
just Steve Jobs,
and just not seeing him absorbed into the role. I mean, I could be completely wrong, and I had the same sort of feeling too when initially it was Leonardo DiCaprio that they were going after for the role, but he couldn't do it because of scheduling conflicts. I don't think I would have been able to see DiCaprio as Jobs either. So for me, Bale was like a really good fit, and so with Fassbender, no doubt, I think he can do it in an acting ability way. It's just visually, they'll really have to transform him for me to really be able to buy him as Steve Jobs.
Any opinion, Jascha, on this?
Well, I was excited to see Bale as Jobs too, but I mean, you know, if he backed out, I wonder why. I mean, you know what? You want to know the real reason, if it was scheduling or anything like that.
I guess the only thing I heard was that he felt like he wasn't the right fit. Was the official word that was put out there.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, I like Christian Bale, and I know he really gets into roles, so I thought that he would kill it. But I like Michael Fassbender. I think he's a pretty talented actor, so I'm kind of looking forward to see what he does if he does get chosen for the role, because I think that he'd actually be a pretty good fit for it.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you, Bobby. Even though I think Fassbender is a talented actor, that I think when we actually, if this comes to pass and he does play the role, and I think he'll be able to pull it off. But he doesn't seem like a natural fit like Christian Bale. You know? Yeah. Christian Bale seemed perfect. Mm-hmm. Just like Aaron, and that's what Aaron Sorkin even said. Like, he was the perfect actor for this, and he seemed all excited about it. So that was the first person I thought of when I heard he backed out. I'm like, oh, fuck, man, I bet Sorkin's pissed.
Which makes you wonder why. Because, like you said, the reasoning of what he said, why he backed out, was he didn't feel like he was a good fit. Like, well, when did you realize that? Like, why would you realize that so late?
Yeah.
Not late, but, you know, late enough that it was initially thought that you were going to be in the role. And then, isn't that such a weird thing almost as an actor to say that you're not a good, isn't part of the challenge of acting to be able to take on any role and be able to do that portrayal? Like, the fact that Tom Hardy will be playing Elton John in a film, I mean, you can't get a bigger stretch in terms of like how different people look visually, but yet he can say enough about himself to be like, I can do this. Then, all right, bring it on. Let me see that performance. Yeah. And you would think that Bale would be like, yes, I can do this. I'm an actor. I can do anything pretty much. So it seems like a weird thing to say that, you know, he doesn't feel like he's a good fit, especially when all three of us just literally said he seems like he would be the perfect fit for it. I don't know. Yeah. It's weird.
It is weird. It's another one of those things that it'll be so curious to know how it really went down, and we'll probably never know, you know? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, we can always speculate and dream.
Yeah.
But, I guess with that, we're probably going to go ahead and get out of here. As usual, we'd like to know what you thought of the podcast and everything we talked about. You can let us know by emailing us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and YouTube. If YouTube is your thing, you can always find our podcast there as well. But yeah, you can find links to those accounts on our website over on the right-hand side. With that, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Jascha Wilson.
Thanks for listening.